Yay, my crime watching people, I am back. I'm sporadic with this. Like I said, I'm just a one-man show. It's just me doing this all alone. So it takes me a while to get these videos going for you guys. I'm back and we about to watch another video. This one I found: sickening mom let her toddler drown to death while she had the big sex word. The tragic Lonzie Barton case. That is sad. That is so sad. And despicable. Not just sad, it's despicable. Let me subscribe. I'm sure I like it because this is just ridiculous. And let's just dive right into it. All right, forget all the dumb talk. Let's just dive right into it. The title says it all. It's ridiculous. It sounds gross, and I bet you some druggies that are guilty of this. So let's go on and get started.
On a wild ride filled with many different twists and turns, what started out as a case of a stolen vehicle and a missing child quickly turned into something much darker and much more twisted. We will be discussing the troubling case of Lonzie Barton, who was just 21 months old when he met his tragic end. Be prepared because this is a truly heartbreaking story. Lonzie Barton was born to his mother, Lana Barton, and he had an older sister, Lily, who was just over 3 years his senior. At the time, they were living in the rural part of Jacksonville, Florida. Back in 2009, when Lana was 19 years old, she married then 35-year-old Chris Barton, who helped to raise Lily and Lonzie from the time they were very young. According to reports, Lana became pregnant with Lonzie while in a relationship with Chris, and he fully believed that Lonzie was his baby. However, after everything went down, DNA tests were done, and it was discovered that Chris is not Lonzie's biological father. The true identity of the bio dad are unknown. But again, throughout the entirety of Lonzie's life, Chris believed he was his baby and loved him as such. Neighbors and friends who knew Chris and Lana said that they were good parents. They adored their children, and although they may not have had the most solid relationship, they did what they could to provide the best life for their little ones. At some point after Lonzie's birth, though, Chris and Lana got divorced. Now, Lana was known as having struggled with drug use throughout her life. At that time, she was working as a dancer at Wacko's Gentlemen's Club.
That is a horrible name.
On one of her shifts, she met William Ruben Ebron, who went by Ruben. Ruben was known as someone who would often provide the girls at the club with drugs, so that's exactly how he got into contact with Lana. Then, after getting to know each other, the two began a romantic relationship, which, according to later reports, appeared to be largely focused on their drug use together. After starting this relationship, Lana and her 2 children ended up moving in with Ruben. According to Lana's family, she was very easily influenced, so it's no surprise that she fell hard into drug use and moved in with a man so soon after they started dating.
And he just
Not a lot is known about their relationship as a whole, but I think it can be safely assumed that it wasn't the most solid, healthy situation for anyone involved. It seemed like Lana was the type of person who always needed to be dating someone, regardless of how it impacted her or her children. She seemed to just go along with whatever the man wanted, never really pushing back or saying no. But that is just what I gather from what her family has said about her and from what little we know about the dynamics between her and Ruben. The case begins on the evening of Thursday, July 23rd, 2015. By 8 p.m. that night, Lana headed to Wacko's for her shift, while Lonzie and Lily stayed at home with Ruben. Things seemed to be going as normal at the home until around 2:20 a.m., now going into July 24th, when it was time to pick up Lana from work. At that time, Ruben called 911 with a bizarre story. He told police that he had put Lonzie and Lily in the car so that they could head to Wacko's. But after getting the kids in the car, he had to run back into the apartment to grab something. But shortly after he went inside, he was followed by then 5-year-old Lily, who said that she didn't want to wait in the car. It was dark and scary. After grabbing whatever he needed from the apartment, he returned to the parking lot, only to find that an unknown person was driving off in his car, an orange 1995 Honda Civic, with Lonzie still inside. It seems like he tried chasing after the unknown driver for a minute or two before returning to the apartment to get his phone and call 911.
Jacksonville 911, aren't you, Bob?
Yeah, someone reported a car stolen. It's a 95 Honda Civic.
Do you know who stole it?
No, I don't. It's a 95 Honda Civic, and it just...
Beat up ass Honda Civic.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me just check and make sure it wasn't towed or anything, all right?
It couldn't have been towed, not that quick. And it's my kid is in the back, still in the back of the car.
Your
My
what?
kid is in the back of the car.
Okay. What color is it?
It's a bright orange. You can't miss it. 95 Honda Civic.
Which way did it go?
I just seen it. I tried to run towards the street, but it looked like it went left.
He don't sound like he
Kid is in the
panicked
back
or nothing.
seat, right?
Yes, in the back seat.
I mean, I know that ain't
Can you
his
describe the
biological.
suspects?
I did not see. I went inside real quick, put on a movie, and by the time I came out, the car was gone.
So you parked your car out front, let the kid in the car real fast, went inside, came back out, your car's gone.
I had both kids in the car. The car was locked. One kid got out and came to the inside.
The car was locked, but one kid got out.
I looked, and the car was gone.
Listen, sir, the police are ready on the way, okay? All right, listen, we have an officer already in the
car
area.
was
Are you
locked.
able to step outside and talk with the
But
sergeant?
one kid got out.
Yes, I'm here.
Not
Police
only that,
responded to the call shortly after
somebody
and
got
started
in.
out on their search for the missing
the
vehicle.
car was locked.
It wasn't long before officers found the car abandoned just a few blocks away from the apartment at 2:37 a.m. But when they found the car, Lonzie was not in it. From there, several police officers in the area gathered to start searching for this missing 20-month-old baby boy. They immediately took to the media, alerting to the public about this possible child abduction, asking them to keep on the lookout for the missing boy. By 6:22 a.m., 4 hours after Lonzie was last seen, an Amber Alert was issued. By 11 a.m. that day, the searches began expanding, and now officers were going house to house. They gathered over 50 police cruisers and officers who met at a portable tent so that they could all prepare for what was to come, an exhaustive, desperate search for a missing baby boy. At that time, this is what police knew, that Lana, the mother, was at work. Ruben, her boyfriend, saw the man drive off with Lonzie in the car. The man thought to be his biological father, Chris, had an alibi in another county. Ruben and Lana were being cooperative, providing detailed accounts of their whereabouts from the day prior and the hours leading to Lonzie's abduction. The older sister, Lily, wasn't questioned right away because she was so exhausted after being up all night, so they were giving her a chance to rest. For the hours that followed, the intensive search efforts continued, but they were finding no sign of Lonzie. What they were finding, however, was that Ruben actually had a bit of a troubled past. He had previously been convicted of domestic battery. He also had a current domestic violence injunction out against him from a recent ex-girlfriend who claimed that he beat her and had been stalking her. So that was a current allegation he was facing. Then, about 2 months before Lonzie's disappearance on May 30th, police responded to a noise complaint at Lana's
He was
apartment,
found at Wacko's.
where they found
What do you
Ruben,
expect?
Lana, and a third woman in possession of marijuana, white powder, aka cocaine, brown powder, aka possibly heroin, and ecstasy pills. Ruben was also found with about $400 of cash on him. So that, along with the drugs they found, led officers to believe that they were selling these drugs. All 3 individuals in that apartment were arrested. Then, shortly after their arrests, Lana was evicted from that apartment, and that's pretty much how she ended up living with Ruben in his apartment. Given Ruben's unsavory history with domestic violence and drugs, police felt that they had enough to charge him with child neglect while they continued searching for answers. At the very least, he left a toddler in the car unattended for several minutes, allowing him to be abducted. So Ruben sat in jail with his new charges, and police continued their investigation. They brought out dive teams to search the nearby bodies of water. They continued questioning every single resident in the area and the surrounding neighborhood, and even put out a $10,000 reward for any information leading to his safe return home. But those long hours turned into days and then a week, and there was still no sign of Lonzie anywhere. But as they were conducting their searches for Lonzie, police also started collecting surveillance video from the surrounding businesses and apartment complexes. And one of the videos they found completely contradicted what Ruben said happened on the night of Lonzie's disappearance. It showed that Ruben drove his own car to the spot where it was later found, parked it there, and then ran away towards the apartment complex just minutes before he dialed 911. Two officers at this point, it appeared that Ruben had actually staged the scene to make it look like a random abduction. After doing all of these searches and finding nothing, and now seeing that Ruben appears to have staged the scene, the search was scaled back and the Amber Alert was canceled. Police announced that they were no longer considering the disappearance as a missing child. It is now a murder investigation, and Ruben is their main suspect. From there, police seized Ruben's cell phone to track his movements in the months, days, and hours leading to Lonzie's disappearance. They found that all throughout this time, as I've been mentioning throughout the video, Ruben participated in selling and doing drugs. Just hours before that 911 call came in, Ruben got a text from a friend saying, "What's up, bro? What you got planned for tonight?" And Ruben replied that he was just chilling at home. But according to cell phone pings, that was not true. He spent those hours traveling between the laundromat, a storage facility, and then to a convenience store, allegedly for drug deals. For the days and hours before the night of July 23rd, they noticed that Ruben had always been very responsive with texting his customers back throughout these transactions. At around midnight that same day, he texted one customer that he had a dub to give him. The customer agreed to meeting up that night, but then Ruben stopped replying. Nothing else came from Ruben's cell phone until 2:16 a.m. on the 24th, when he called 911 to report the disappearance. So basically, this is all saying that he's very active and he's very responsive with his customers. He's meeting up with people, he's texting them back, until around the time of Lonzie's disappearance, when he doesn't meet up with this customer to sell him the drugs, and he stops texting everyone back. So something was happening during that time. At this point, investigators can see that, again, on the same day as Lonzie's disappearance, Ruben suddenly went unresponsive, which was unusual for him. At the same time, they know that he lied about the abduction. He staged it. Why, though? Investigators still needed more answers. At this point, police seized Ruben's cell phone to examine it, and there they found several photos that he had attempted to delete off of his phone, but officers were able to recover them.
Still trying to delete shit on
These photos showed that Lonzie had been suffering from physical abuse for weeks before his death. Not only that, but it appears that Lana knew about it. In one of the photos, it showed poor 21-month-old Lonzie had a bruise on the side of his head by his ear, and yellow liquid was coming out of his ear. He also had extensive bruising on his abdomen. They also found that just one day before Lonzie's disappearance, Lana had actually confronted Ruben about the bruising. Again, he had all this bruising. He had liquid coming from his ears. He was acting lethargic and had been vomiting that entire day. Yet it showed that Lana still opted to leave Lonzie in Ruben's care while she worked the following day. Clearly, Lonzie was not being treated well by Ruben, and Lana knew about it, yet she wasn't doing anything to stop it. And not only that, but she was still leaving him in his care, knowing that he was most likely physically abusing him. By that point, officers took Lana in for an official interview. There, they grilled Lana with questions about her care towards her son. She said that she didn't know what happened to him, didn't know that any sort of abuse was going on. But officers confronted her about those bruises, about how she knew they were there, yet still allowed Lonzie to be under Ruben's care. They asked her why she left him with Ruben instead of taking him to the hospital for medical attention. To all of these questions, she didn't really have any answers. All she said was that on the day of Lonzie's disappearance, he was alive and awake in the car with Ruben when he dropped her off at work. Then, later in the interview, she finally gave a suggestion as to what may have happened to her son. She admitted that they did drugs in that home and said that maybe Lonzie got a hold of some sort of substance out of the dresser and accidentally overdosed or something like that. Maybe Ruben found him, freaked out, and then hid his body. But other than that, Lana maintained that she had no idea what happened to her son.
I've got at least 2 times you've lied to us in this investigation. You've lied twice in here today. Correct? Say yes.
About the...
Anything. You lied at least twice in here today.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't get smart with me.
Well, I'm not.
Okay, because I'm here. Listen, I'm the third day like burning a candle trying to find your son.
Child.
Okay, when you were sleeping, my ass was here. Okay? Because you've lied during the felony investigation already. Felony investigation. You've lied. I've asked you to be honest.
I'm being honest.
Okay. Get on board with us.
I'm getting on board with you. I'm trying
You know
to
where I want to go with this. You want to know, you know where I want to go with this. And I'm not going to spell it out for you. I'm not going to show you our case. I'm not going to show you our case, but I'm going to tell you this. The more you lie to me, I'm going to go get a rights form and read your rights.
This I can tell you, and this comes from you.
I'm going to go get a rights form.
Well, and you can read them, because I don't know where my baby is.
Lower your voice to me, because you have no right to raise your voice to me. You f***ing lied to me twice in your son's abduction case. Don't. Okay, don't raise your voice to me.
I have no reason to want to harm my baby or anything like that. And if I knew where he was, I would definitely have done said something. Yeah, I'm not calling and telling y'all what I was on Christmas. Stop. I didn't have nothing to do with that.
Do you got a reason to lie to me?
No, I do not.
Why have you done it twice now?
I don't even know.
Do you know how to tell the truth?
Yes, I do know how to tell the truth, and I'm doing my best right now. Just I'm coming forward
right
with
now,
you
3 days later.
By that point, though, it's obvious that Lana is a neglectful mother. At best, she brings in this drug dealer into her home and exposes her 2-year-old children to drugs and this lifestyle that they never should have been exposed to. At worst, she knew that her boyfriend was abusing her baby, but did nothing about it. In fact, she continued living with him and leaving him alone with him. Due to this, Lonzie Barton was ultimately arrested and charged with child neglect. As they sat in jail, investigators continued with their quest to find answers.
You need more than just
of course, they eventually spoke with Lonnie's 5-year-old sister, who allegedly was in the car with Lonzie just before the car was stolen. At first, she pretty much backed up Ruben's story. She said that she left him in the car all alone. She went on to say that him being missing, it's all her fault, which is absolutely heartbreaking to hear, knowing that this 5-year-old little girl, blames herself for her little brother going missing. But then, by late August, she was at school when she broke down and said to a teacher, "My baby brother is dead. They killed him with a knife and threw him in the woods." Of course, this prompted her teacher to call officers, who then conducted searches in any and all nearby wooded areas. But still, they could not find Lonzie. As all of that happened, Ruben would go back and forth with his story, telling similar stories with slight variations, while Lana stuck to her original story. She maintained that she didn't know what happened. But then, by January of 2016, Lana worked out a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to charges of child neglect and lying to police officers in exchange for testifying against Ruben at trial. At this point, Lana knew that it was possible that she could be implicated for harsher charges due to the fact that Lonzie still wasn't found. And now, even his older sister is saying that something horrible happened. And it seems that as a response to Lana agreeing to testify against Ruben, as his trial was starting to near, he panicked and he also accepted a plea deal where he told investigators another version of what happened. This time, though, he was acknowledging that Lonzie was dead, but he did say that Lana knew about it. He said that on the morning of July 23rd, him and Lana had sex after putting Lonzie in the bathtub. Once they were done, they found that Lonzie had drowned alone in that bathtub and was dead. He admitted that in a panic, he took Lonzie's body and buried it to cover up what happened. He said that Lana knew her son was dead before she ever even went to work that day, but she refused to admit what she knew. After telling this story, Ruben led them to Lonzie's little body. By the evening of January 10th, Ruben led investigators to an area in Bayard around Florida 9B and Phillips Highway. They went to an area that was overgrown in weeds and vegetation, but the landscape was very hard to navigate. It had changed a lot over the course of 6 months, so Ruben couldn't identify exactly where he dumped Lonzie's body. He just had the general idea of where it was. So Ruben returned to prison that night before officers returned the following day to scour the area. And sure enough, after conducting exhaustive searches, they discovered a pile of old tires, and after removing the tires and digging into the ground, they found the body of 21-month-old Lonzie Barton.
They went to neighbor after neighbor, officers looking for someone who could give them details on what had been going on with this section of Bayard since Lonzie disappeared last summer. Apparently, a lot of dirt had been moved by construction equipment in the months prior, adding a layer of difficulty to Ebron's recollection of the exact location.
Yeah. You notice we got a bunch of fresh dirt?
Yeah.
Are these guys pushing the dirt out pretty regular? Like, well, how far have they pushed out in the last couple months?
Was it cleared like that 6 months ago, or did that just recently clear it?
6 months is a short time. When did they move in? It was last spring. They moved in right before the kids got out for their summer vacation.
The company's trying to clear it to create a secondary lot because their location is downtown.
So you're going to see several police officers and K-9 back there?
Ebron had given police directions that he buried the body near 3 tires and a tree. It was dark and time made things difficult.
How you feel holding a baby? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
I mean, I just
You couldn't have went too far.
I went as deep as I could. And I went and I had that flashlight on. Where we were just at with those tires, it was something just like that. And I went to start digging, and I saw it a little bit further, so I went a little bit further. It was almost identical, but it was a tree, and it already had like a little, somebody had dug in a hole, maybe a hole. And it was, like that 3 tires sitting up just right, like if somebody just pulled them off the truck.
But eventually information from neighbors coupled with Ebron's story gave them enough.
I got 3 tires over here that were for our trailers, but there's a mystery tire. I don't know where the hell it came from. It's laying over here.
By that point, it had been 6 months since his body was buried, and this is Florida we're talking about. It was humid, moist, and hot for most of those 6 months. So, unfortunately, by the time the body was discovered, he was very decomposed. Still, his body was sent to the medical examiner for an autopsy, and there it was determined that he had suffered multiple fractures to his skull and 8 broken ribs, which showed signs of healing. So that means that he likely suffered some sort of blunt force trauma to those areas shortly before he died. However, Due to how decomposed his little body was, the medical examiner could not determine a cause of death. Even though there was evidence of blunt force trauma, he couldn't say with 100% certainty that this is what caused his death. So his death was listed as undetermined. So knowing all of this, we can see that Ruben was at least telling the partial truth because he knew where Lonzie's body was and was able to lead investigators most of the way. But of course, they couldn't determine his cause of death, and to this day, we still don't know exactly what caused it. As we know from earlier, there were signs of physical abuse. The photos of those bruises, his demeanor in the hours leading to his disappearance, him, being fatigued and throwing up. And again, the fractures found to his skull and ribs. But just because there was severe abuse doesn't mean that's what killed him. It's still entirely possible that he died in that bathtub by accident, just as Ruben stated. To me, it appears that Ruben was physically abusing this poor baby boy. All the while, they obviously neglected him as well. Lana most likely knew about the abuse, but because she was so wrapped up in her drug use and her relationship with Ruben, she didn't do anything about it. And even though Ruben is a certified liar, I do believe his story to an extent, but obviously, I think there's a lot of details he left out. I think he was beaten, maybe throwing up all over the place from the head trauma. After throwing up, maybe they put him in the bathtub, leaving him unattended while they went off and did whatever. And because Lonzie is just a baby and because of the head trauma, I think he might have drowned. And I do think that Ruben hid his body before staging the scene to make it look like an abduction. To me, I think that Lana had to have known that Lonzie died, and she knew exactly how, and let me tell you why. If he was alive when Ruben dropped her off at work and she truly didn't know what happened, then Ruben had absolutely no reason to worry about Lana testifying. She could have talked about the abuse and how he previously treated her and Lonzie, but that's it. Investigators weren't going to find the body on their own, so they couldn't even prove that he was dead. So I definitely think that Lana knew he was dead, and when she agreed to testify, I think that Ruben was worried that he would get all the blame, and I think she would have told a more full story of what he did to that baby boy, regardless of if it was completely true or not. She definitely could have made Ruben look like he flat out murdered that baby boy in cold blood. If Lana had known what happened and she was the only one talking, then she had the full power to spin the story any way she wanted, and Ruben couldn't have that. I do think they both played part in poor little Lonzie's death, and I do think that they're both monsters for it, but with this whole plea deal with Lana agreeing to testify, I think that Ruben was afraid that he would get the full blame, which in my head, I do think he's mostly to blame for it, and I do think that Lana could have told the full story, but he could have gotten pinned down much worse than he was if Lana testified at a trial. So after all of this, after both of them accepted their plea deals, then 26-year-old Lana Barton was given a sentence of just 12 years behind bars.
12 years?
5 years for lying to police and for the neglect charges. Then she was given an additional 7 years for charges related to other drug offenses. After that, then 33-year-old Ruben Ebron was handed a sentence of 20 years behind bars for charges of aggravated manslaughter, child neglect, and evidence tampering. After his sentence, he has maintained his original story that Lonzie accidentally died in the bathtub while they were having sex. Of course, after all of this came to light, family and friends of both Ruben and Lana said that they just can't believe any of it. Ruben's father initially didn't believe what was being said about his son, but he ultimately accepted the truth after hearing that Ruben led police to Lonzie's body. He said that he just hopes that Ruben can become a contributing member of society upon his release. On the other hand, those who knew Lana said that she was easily influenced by others. This wasn't in her nature to hurt her child, but they can see how she would have gone along with anything Ruben did. It's unfortunate, but she is right where she belongs. And like I said earlier, it wasn't until after all of this happened that Chris Barton discovered that he wasn't the biological father of Lonzie. He took a DNA test and it came back negative. We still don't know who the biological father is, but Chris considers himself as his father. He still saw him after they're divorced and still loved him after the divorce. He always was a father figure to him while he was alive. So even after he's gone, Chris said that this doesn't change anything, and I'd have to agree. But again, that's where the case sits right now. Lana should be getting out in just a few short years, and I certainly hope that she's been able to reflect on what happened and remembers every single day that she is responsible for the horrific death of her baby boy. But that's where I'm going to end today's video. You all heard my thoughts, and now I want to hear from you all. What do you think of the case overall? What do you think really happened to little Lonzie? Do you think Ruben and Lana got enough time? Let's discuss this and any other thoughts you have in the comments below. If you like this video, please make sure to go ahead and leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I put out new true crime and mystery videos every single week. Don't forget to turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Spotify. All will be linked down below. And if you have any case suggestions, please make sure to fill out the Google form, which is also listed down below. With that, I hope you guys have an amazing week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.
Man, that's sad, you know? Sad that had to end that way because of a woman being obsessed with drugs and a guy taking advantage of that, you know? And it probably was him that was like, oh, let's go, you know, let's just go in the room. It ain't gonna take too long. But it was long enough for that little boy, you know, even 30 seconds, 1 minute was long enough for that little boy to pass away in the tub. And I agree, you know, with, what's her name, Rachel, about Lana, the mom, needing to have been charged with more time. Because at the end of the day, it is her fault, and we don't, I mean, not her fault at all altogether, but if she wasn't so strung out on drugs and so much wanting to just get those drugs and find the next guy that would be able to provide those drugs for her, she wouldn't be in the position with this guy that she's in right now, with right now. I mean, I believe in fate, you know, and when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. But I also believe that there are times where there's paths that you're headed down that yourself or someone that loves you enough can help you get out of that bad path. Because now it took her to go to jail and maybe teach some other kids out that are ending up in jail, you know, to be careful who you date and stay away from drugs. If they're with you just for the drugs, you need to leave, you know. It's gonna hurt in the beginning. Those first few months, weeks, days after you're breaking up with somebody that is providing all these drugs, or after you're trying to get away from these drugs, those first few weeks or months or so is hard. But afterwards, you appreciate it so much more than you actually appreciated the drug while you were on that drug. Because you mope around all day, looking for the next drug, not even caring that your kids is over there sitting in the corner crying probably. And that's probably why he was beating on him, because you weren't really worried about him. And he was probably crying and whining, wanting to eat, you know, not like the little girl that could speak her mind and say, you know, can I have something to eat? Or I'm tired, or I want to play, or whatever. You know, the baby just had to cry. And if they tried to feed him and he wasn't trying to eat, and he didn't need his diaper changed, He probably wanted to play, but they wanted to get high and have sex and run the streets and sell weed and sell, sell illegal drugs. That kind of stuff happens. So, be careful who you hang out with. If I had friends that I seen in this kind of situation, I would speak up to them and let them know what they're doing is wrong. It ain't my place to tell you how to raise your child, but I'd say, hey, I love you, man, as a friend. I see what you're doing. I see too many YouTube videos where bad stuff happens. So I think you should make a U-turn and change some stuff around. But yeah, that's my little rant. Thank you guys for watching. The little that do until the many do. All love, stick with me. I'm gonna keep running them. They might come sporadically and sparsely, but they will come and they will continue to get better. The videos, I mean. All right, y'all. Peace. Crime Watching out.